This is, as of now, titled Bad Movie Monday, a monthly podcast with me and...
Nearly.Royal.
Cara.
I still don't know which one to do, my username or my real name.
You
just
figure it out.
Cara and also Nearly.Royal.
So, we saw, begrudgingly,
unfortunately,
50 Shades of Grey. And we both compiled some notes afterwards.
And this was completely for the purpose of reviewing it, by the way. I didn't want to see that.
Yeah, neither of us were really interested in this movie, but I can't lie. After seeing it, anal fisting might become my new catchphrase of 2015.
Or, what are butt plugs?
Oh, dude, what are butt plugs?
Both quotes from the movie. Well, I mean, anal fisting isn't really a quote, but you know. What are butt plugs?
Dude, anal fisting can be anything you want it to be, as long as it involves your anus and a fist.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Alright, so, is there anything specific you'd like to go over first?
Okay, so, basically this movie starts out
with a lot of really bad music.
Definitely bad music.
In the first 5 seconds, you can already tell his last name is Gray due to all the black and white on a scale that they use.
Yeah.
Sorry, I wanted to get some stuff into, because, my notes start at the very beginning as well.
I mean, my notes start, 15 minutes in, so you can...
Okay, well, here's one for you. Why does every fucking movie nowadays take place in Washington, if it's a tween drama?
Because it's Twilight fanfiction, so it has to... Can we talk about that real quick?
Yeah, poster, that's on here. Go ahead.
The movie poster is him looking at the Space Needle from his apartment.
Is it?
Which is impossible because the location of the Space Needle, his apartment would be in the middle of the fucking water. So, explain.
Forgot. Wait, the Space Needle's in Washington? I thought it was somewhere else.
It's the Seattle Space Needle.
Oh, dude, I can't remember everything in the world, okay? Another one. Who the hell has you're like, oh yeah, I'm doing investigative journalism, but I'm too sick to go do this important interview. Here are my notes. Go do this interview for me, because this is a thing you can totally do easily.
Honestly, you would think that you would just postpone it.
Well, no. Well, to be fair to the movie on that part, I think he's too important to be you can't see it, but I was doing air quotes.
By the way, okay. First of all, we forgot to say this. Number one, spoiler.
Oh no, I was gonna do. That's gonna come. I'll just edit this out. That's gonna come before the video. I'll do that personal. You don't have to worry about that. I'll cut this out too. Don't worry. Where were we though? When she... Oh, okay, so some interesting symbolism. At the very beginning of the movie, when she goes to enter his office, she falls down, right? And she ends up on her hands and knees. Which
this is something I didn't even notice.
Well, this is just the shit you notice after you've been in film class, staring at movies for hours.
And I mean, unfortunately, this is my second time seeing it.
Yeah, that's because you couldn't get enough of the anal fisting.
Definitely.
And the genital clamps.
You know my weakness.
Oh, they always say the way to a woman's heart's through her anus. With your fist.
Wow. So true.
Anyway, she falls on her hands and knees, which is a very clear sign of submission. And my god, this movie is not subtle in the least.
No.
Yeah?
Oh,
Did you have a thought?
No.
We're doing this at 2 something in the morning, by the way.
Why are we doing this at 2 something in the morning?
Because reasons. Sometimes you feel the sense of entitlement. You gotta do what you gotta do.
Honestly, okay. So, she interviews him. Sorry, did you have a point? I just wanted to carry on.
No, it's cool. Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so she interviews him, and he instantly becomes obsessed from that interview.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Not really. Ooh, she was cute. Maybe I'll see her around. Ooh, she was cute. Let's stalk her, find out where she lives, buy her stuff, show up at her job, and buy stuff from my creepy...
sex dungeon.
Quote-unquote...
playroom.
What?
Oh, man. The sex dungeon. Can we just talk about that for a second? Okay, so there's, a generous estimate, probably around like 90 fucking things on the walls in there.
Yeah.
And like 2 of them got used throughout the whole movie. He used the riding crop to smack her hand, and then he used a flogger for and like 2 seconds to barely tap her.
Mm-hmm. And he used a belt, which was
to spank
the
her.
belt was on the wall.
Wait, was the belt wasn't on the wall?
Yeah, he took it off the wall.
Oh, that's dumb.
Yeah.
Then I didn't notice that.
But see, the belt was on the wall with a bunch of paddles.
Yeah, he also has paddles.
Like, so why did he use a belt? I don't...
It's easier on the butt, I would guess. It's not as hard as using a paddle.
Like, paddles were made for... I don't...
Paddles were made for asses, damn it.
But yeah.
I really liked some of the conversation from the beginning of the movie that really lacked subtlety. First off, their names are Christian Grey and Anastasia Steele. Grey and Steele both obviously having to do with the color gray, and the title...
Steele is a shade of gray.
Is it?
Probably. Let's look it up.
Well, Steele's also a metal, which is gray.
Yeah, let's see if Steele is a shade of gray.
Well, while she's doing that, it's still very clearly that they're not subtle. And there's at the scene where she's interviewing him, she doesn't have a pencil, and he just happens to have like 10 pencils in a row just lined up on his desk, which who the hell carries desks on their, or pencils on their desk anymore?
Steel gray. It's a shade of gray.
That doesn't surprise me.
Oh gosh. I audio searched steel gray, shade of gray. Alright, anyways.
Yeah, you want me to be careful with that. So, fucking throwing me off track over here.
Sorry, I just had to know if that was a shade of gray.
It's okay. There's 50 of them, from what I've been told. 50. So, some interesting dialogue from the beginning when he mentions he likes to exercise control in all aspects of his life. I'm not kidding when I say this movie lacks subtlety. It's literally, it doesn't even know the definition of the word at this point.
I mean, even if, like, this wasn't a very popular movie and people didn't know what it was about, like, they would get it instantly. Like,
he's crazy and obsessive. It's pretty obvious, yeah. So, this movie doesn't do this book. Well, this book or movie doesn't do either credit because they're both horrible. But, first off, who wrote this garbage, the movie? And also, who's the author of the book?
E.L. James, I think?
James Earl Jones? The voice of Darth Vader?
Yeah.
Oh man, no wonder why it's evil.
Yeah, E.L. James.
E.L. James, okay.
Unfortunately. She's 51, by the way, writing this crap.
Yeah, that's my favorite part. She's writing her own Harlequin romance novel.
Seriously, a 51-year-old writing some fanfiction.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting, isn't it? You'd never think who's on the other side of that Tumblr post.
Right. Like,
also, she is probably a Tumblr.
Yeah. that's where it all started.
I can't even fucking think of a 51-year-old on Tumblr. Oh my god, it's beautiful.
I mean, I follow people that are like 16 to like 23 that write fanfic.
That was a generous assumption for me. I was going to say like up to 17 maybe.
Oh, no, but like people that I actually follow that are 23.
Yeah, I could think of a few people who might still write fan fiction.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean. Yeah, okay, good. Well, I like that we're on the same page. So, we're about 7 minutes into the movie so far. And ironically, 9 minutes, almost 10 minutes into the podcast. So, about by the 7-minute mark, this movie's already regurgitated most of its plot. Like, we already have most of everything we're going to see. Mm-hmm. He's going to go crazy, he's going to control her, and I mean, that's pretty much what happens in the movie. That's about it. And some wicked hot sex scenes.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's how it came out of my mouth. And some crazy 70s trim. Like,
not as bad as Demi Moore.
Yeah, not as bad as her hair diaper.
Oh my god.
One of my favorite parts from the early movie, I showed you this while we were watching it when I was taking these notes. I really wish he was gay, because then the stalker shit would have been taken seriously by people.
Yes.
Do you want to divulge more on what I mean? Because this is part of what you were looking at.
Okay, so from my angle, I was looking at it as more, this is abusive, this is making abuse seem okay, and I want people to know that, and here are my facts on things that I've observed. So, putting it like that, this really, I'm bad at words, but
I know.
People have this image of, ooh, romance, he's obsessed with you.
Yeah,
you
that
know,
means he's in love with you.
He smothers you with gifts and all this stuff. Yeah, that's cool, but not literally obsessed. And we see this with a straight couple, and we're like, oh, it's fine.
Yeah, because it's a guy. He's romancing a girl. It's no big deal.
It's romantic.
But as I pointed out earlier, I guaranteed if it was two guys together, then somebody would have noticed that there was something not right with it immediately. Because they're not busy focusing on projecting themselves onto the characters. Because they don't relate to them in that way necessarily.
Exactly.
Except for the gay audience who would then watch it.
Unfortunately.
Then we would have to worry about them exhibiting these patterns.
It all just comes full circle.
It's a vicious cycle. It always is.
It's a circle, a mean cycle.
What song is that from?
Ignorance.
Okay, thank
it's
you.
A circle,
I know, I remembered
cycle.
it when you said. Alright, this isn't the Paramore cast, although that's another thing we should totally do. Not really, but. Here's another question for you. Is it literally always raining in Washington?
Apparently
Do they have
so.
any other weather? Or are they about to be flooded and Noah's gonna build another ark there or something?
Look, we live in the South. I've never been out west, personally. Well, I've been kind of out west, but not there. I have no clue what the climate is. I know that it rains all the time in some places, but come on. Come on. It's like, I have a home in Florida, and I understand that it rains there every day, but it doesn't rain there.
It doesn't rain there every day in Florida, actually.
Well, they have, during the summer.
During monsoon season. Yeah.
Well, you get what I'm saying. Thank you for overanalyzing.
Sorry. Well, I'm talking about in Washington, it just seems to literally always be raining.
I was getting there. But I don't, it's not a constant thing. Why is that a thing?
Also, this might feel a little segmented. First off, this is our first podcast ever. And second off, we wrote notes as they came along in the movie. And I think this is probably another one of my favorites. Mac is going to regret doing this license deal with them, this brand deal.
True.
Because now their product's going to be associated with mental abuse and other shit.
Although some people like to wear a little shade and be like, no, this isn't abuse, it's not abuse. And that's exactly why I took these notes and watched this movie.
Would that shade be gray?
Hopefully not.
I do like to keep a little comedy in it, to be fair. Her character her roommate character was Susan Sarandon B. That's what I'm calling her, by the way, because in the first scene she looks like she's way past her age. She calls him ridiculously hot, which, let's be honest, is not true.
He's pretty average. He goes from kinda okay to pretty average with a beard.
I think he looks better outside of the movie.
Definitely.
Maybe if they would have done something like that with him, it would have made it better. Instead of giving him ramen noodle hair.
Yeah. Not cute. Not cute, hunty.
And then this one really got me angry. They assumed he was gay because nobody ever saw him with a woman. Oh, just because you never seen somebody in public with a woman doesn't automatically make anybody have a specific sexual orientation.
Have you heard about people wanting to keep their life private?
Yeah.
I mean, he's not that famous. He's pretty rich, but
I don't fucking know anything about his character. They don't explain it. I think I remember in the book they went into more detail because to be honest, I read the first 2 chapters of it forever ago because I was bored.
Yeah, I read an article about the book. So
yeah, I was let down because I thought because it was based off Twilight, there was going to be vampires in it, so I really wanted to see what they did with that.
Yeah, I really thought it was going to be vampires.
Because originally I heard it was Twilight meets BDSM, and I was like, okay, vampires and sex, that sounds pretty cool, I can get behind that.
And then it was
horrible. It was horrible. Have we crossed paths with any of your bullet points yet? Is there anything you want to mention?
Well,
other than fart noises.
Pretty much, mine kind of has the themes of abuse and,
You did bring that up already.
I know.
It's
Well, what do you want me to talk about? I just have
were you, like, taking notes to discuss during this?
Well, kinda, yeah.
Alright, well, what were some things that bothered you about the movie? Let's start there. Look at some of your specifics that you have written.
I mean,
See
I'm
if
really
you can
bad
talk.
See, this is why I edit things, because I'm really bad at talking.
I can edit this too.
Yeah. I mean, mostly what I wrote about was just instances of him being obsessive and creepy, and just the wrong.
Point a couple of them out.
The first thing I noticed was the whole stalking her and showing up at her workplace. The second thing was, okay, they've met, 3 times by the time she goes to the club?
It was like 2 or 3 times by the time she hit the club.
Yeah. She calls him, and he gets mad because she's drinking. Like, that's like meeting... I don't even understand, like...
Yeah, there's no way to really compare it.
Yeah, like, you have no right. What?
We've met...
And then he comes to get her, like,
well,
what
then
are
again,
you talking about?
He's only met her 3 times and already gave her his number, too. And he's a billionaire.
Yeah.
Like,
it's creepy, obsessive over somebody that's a lot younger than you.
And you can see that he was clearly playing an angle from the very beginning.
Yeah. It's like, it's abusing your position of power.
That, too. More abuse.
Wow, look at all the abuse.
Speaking of abuse, it's not necessarily abuse, but the uncomfortableness when her boss comes up from behind and, like, grabs her arms like that. I mean, technically, it's not abuse, but it was unwarranted touching, which by the eyes of the law is considered battery.
Yeah, it's assault. Sexual assault.
Well, it would be sexual assault if it was based, well, I guess, okay, that would get way too far into law. We're just gonna not get that far into the law of it. But our listeners will definitely understand what it is regardless.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna jump back in here.
I feel like we should just go off of your points because mine's more like just...
Well, feel free to chime in at least.
Yeah, I'm gonna be discussing, but
no,
your
I mean,
points
like,
are better for discussion.
Yeah, but chime in with your stuff too because you need to have your opinion heard as well. So, one of my favorite things that comes out of this movie is the freaking... Okay, people coming from my channel to listen to this, you know video games, so you should know Sonic Boom came out recently. It's horrible. It's a god-awful game. One of the spawns of Satan's nutsack. And, in it, the characters had one-note personalities. And if you don't know what this is and need to keep up, then, just Google it real quick, or look it up on YouTube and you'll find out what I'm talking about. So these characters are horrible, one-note, typecast personalities. One's the dumb guy, one's the nerdy smart guy, one's the attitude cool guy, and one's the love-struck dumb girl. Well, in 50 Shades of Grey, characters aren't even that well developed.
Yeah. I mean, there's basically 3 characters.
Yeah, I never thought I could say something was worse than Sonic Boom, but I found it in this movie.
Even I don't get the reference, so if you don't get it, you're not alone.
Well, like I said, if you don't get it, just I'll show you when we're done.
Yeah.
Like, you'll understand 100% what I mean.
Yeah, it's like...
Another thing I really liked at exactly 12:56 in the movie, because I like to use a stopwatch when I watch movies. There's some really good phallic imagery where she takes the pencil that she got from him, which clearly has his name on it, and she starts pushing it up against her lips. This imagery is being used by the director to let you know that the character is thinking about sex.
After like 3 times of meeting him, and listen, there's no shame in that. There's no shame.
You can find somebody attractive.
It's just really, this situation is different.
This one you found surprising when I pointed it out.
Yeah.
It seems like half the sets used in this film were leftovers from Twilight.
Oh my gosh, yes. It was crazy how similar.
Go on IMDb. Was the producer of this Summit? Did we ever find that out? It wasn't? I'm surprised. Seriously, if you look at like the classroom scene, and then if you look back at the parking lot of the school, that looks almost exactly the same.
It's the same one where that kid gets hit, and the classroom's the same one where frickin' Bella walks into the room and Edward has some kind of mental thing going on. Like,
no, he smelt her. That's what it was.
Which he had a mental thing going on when he smelled her.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, I gotta drink her blood right now and kill her." But that's romantic. Anyway, we're not here to talk about this. Isn't the Twilight cast? That's another podcast we're doing. Not really. And then there's the scene where he takes her out to the forest instead of taking her home, and I think he does without her consent.
Yep.
That forest is the exact same one from Twilight. I can guarantee it because it looks like I know
it's
trees.
The one where Edward breaks up with Bella.
That's where everything happened in that movie. That whole movie was structured around the forest.
I'm really ashamed that I know so much about Twilight. I used to be a fangirl.
I enjoyed the first and third book, and I completely skipped over the second book. Still understood the plot completely.
I cried.
It's okay. Don't be ashamed to admit it. We all like bad stuff every once in a while.
Yep. Like you like Broken Side.
Pain. The pain in my chest.
Thumbs up if you agree, subscribe. I'm just kidding. You can like whatever the fuck you want, I don't care. Except for if it hurts people, then don't fucking...
So yeah, okay, to cut you off. Before, as you mentioned multiple times already, before they even have anything that even resembles a relationship, he's already way too into her. Mm-hmm. Like, even after the first meeting, he's already obsessing over her. This is like some bullshit that would be written by, like, some 15-year-old who doesn't understand how love and sex works.
Yeah.
Although I think every 15-year-old understands that now because of how bad our society's going.
Hey, I mean, no shame, though.
And, with the Twilight stuff, like, obviously, who doesn't know this now should know that this book was written by somebody who wrote a Twilight fan fiction. The story, I don't know this exactly, but it was supposed to be about Edward and Bella. And then they converted it over, and they had some, like, friend in publishing or something, and that's how it got through. Essentially, it's like they were trying to recreate Twilight, but with an X rating. And,
which they did terrible at. I would watch all the Twilight movies if it meant I never had to hear about 50 Shades of Grey again.
Yeah, I agree. And the new 6 of them that are coming out.
Oh, God. I forgot that was a thing.
Yeah, I'm sorry I had to remind you. And you mentioned the bar scene earlier, where that happens. Mm-hmm. And my favorite part about that is, after he realizes she's drunk, the first thing he says is, "I'm coming to get you." And he doesn't wait for her to consent. He doesn't wait for anything else to happen. He's like, "This is happening. I'm coming to get you."
He doesn't consider that he's creepy.
That is essentially kidnapping.
Yeah. And, okay, after that, once he does come to get her...
Oh, yeah, I know where you're going.
She passes out, okay? What would you do if a girl passed out and her best friend was there?
I'd probably take her to her friend that was 5 feet from her.
Whoa, really?
Yeah.
Whoa, okay, because I was thinking just, take her to a hotel,
undress her and sleep in bed next to her?
Yeah.
Totally, yeah, that's cool. I mean, who doesn't do that?
That's normal behavior, right?
Yeah, I mean, werewolves do that.
Right, 40-year-old ladies that are advocating so hard for this book? Oh, what? Do you know? Well, I don't think... Oh, look at that. Fancy.
Oh, and seeing as we got to the hotel, this is another thing. I'm going to keep saying that, sorry, that's the only segue I have. But, she wakes up, and it's clear that he expected her to have a hangover, and he left her 2 notes. One said, "Eat me," it was referring to 2 pills, and the other said, "Drink me."
Or were
Other than being a little bit of an Alice in Wonderland reference, almost. It was also the most non-subtle, like, sexual things to come reference ever.
Things to come.
Yeah, like the anal fisting. Okay, so we've covered that one.
Okay, and also, okay, when she goes to leave the hotel, he's like, yeah, I'll have my driver pick you up after work. Like, what is that? You've still only met her like 3 times.
Oh, I don't remember if this is accurate, but I think that was supposed to happen because she left her car at the bar.
Well, how did she get to work then?
Be a thing. The driver? I don't know. Fuck, dude. I'm just trying to guess here.
Like, see, this is this is another part of how it's terribly written, too.
Yeah, it has continuity errors.
Like, what?
Oh, I forgot almost about my one good thing that I saw, other than the rope knots on the hardware store wall. That was beautiful. In the beginning, when she interviews him, for those of you who don't know, there's a thing called the 180-degree rule. Now, it dictates that all the action that the viewer sees happens on one half of a circle without going to the other half of the circle. And this is to prevent confusion of the audience when going with dialogue so the people aren't inverted on screen. Well, what happens while they're talking, they observe the 180-degree rule just fine. It's interesting because when they go into the elevator to have their dumb shit that they do at the end of the movie as well, spoiler alert, what happens is they actually keep the 180-degree rule going and keeping them on the same sides that they were on before, which is also really interesting.
Okay, one other thing that I wanted to say is she notices in the beginning that this behavior is creepy. I just wanted to point that out because some people... Okay, this is more of a thing with people that think this whole movie is completely 100% okay and there's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
Yeah.
She noted the character, she's written to notice that it's weird, okay? Why? Okay, if the character herself, the character that's in the book that the author wrote, thinks some shit is up, then why are there people out there that are like,
there's nothing wrong with this.
Like, what? Weird. What?
Alright, careful, man. You were peeking the microphone way too much. Sorry for the listeners at home. Rip your ears. But, other than that, I keep saying my favorite, but I think this one's truly it. Christian has the superpower of giving girls orgasms just by touching their face.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Like, seriously, he goes right up to Anastasia, touches her on the face, boom, full-blown orgasm. And holy crap, the dialogue is horrible. We get it, you're a Twilight fanfiction. You can calm down already. You don't have to remind us that this frickin' book was written by a 14-year-old who found their first boner. Well, that's funny, when I wrote that line, I accidentally wrote who found their first dungeon. Yeah, that was, you can tell I'm tired. Here's another really fun one. He tries to get what he wants, clearly, because, he's possessive and obsessive. Uh-huh. But another thing I found that was really interesting is you can tell he has that cocky billionaire attitude that he can get whatever he wants because he has the money to pay for it. Rebuttal?
Yeah, man.
That was a fucking brilliant rebuttal, dude.
Sorry, I'm terrible. He's a little whiny brat. Okay,
so another thing, when it gets down to it, and it comes to signing the contract, right? Mm-hmm. Well, we won't get to when it comes down to signing it first. When she first receives the contract. First off, it's needless to say at this point, you can tell that she's falling in love with this horrible, horrible guy.
Unfortunately.
And what she does not understand while reading this contract is he's not interested in having a girlfriend. He's interested in having a submissive, a sub. It's not the same thing. Mm-hmm. In the BDSM community, it's normally the same thing because you play these fantasies out with your partner normally. Not always, but normally. I would say. It may not be as occurrent as I think, because I'm not personally a member of that community, but I have heard from them. So, take that with a grain of salt, but it seems to be pretty accurate.
The thing with this is, she doesn't know, like, the thing about how she doesn't know what she's getting into is that, like, I don't even know how to words.
Can we talk about one of the best lines of 2014?
What about plugs?
Other than that, I don't make love. I fuck hard.
I mean, that's so cliche.
Oh,
it's ridiculous.
no, dude, you sold me right there. That's it. My panties are already on the ground.
Right.
And after that scene follows, that's when she's talking about sex because she's a virgin. And she's like, oh, make love with me? It's like, no, I don't make love, I fuck hard, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And my next favorite part from that is, oh, we had sex, you took my virginity, so now I trust you completely. Also, you brought up a good fact during that about how virginity is really just a social construct.
Yeah. Okay, like, virginity... Oh, the reason I brought up virginity as a social construct is because her friend was like, you look like a different person, you look different. And she was like, I feel different.
It changes everything.
And it's like, girl. One guy's dick is not good enough to change your whole life. Like, chill out.
Girl, dick ain't that good.
Like, honestly, like, it's a social construct. If it means a lot to you, then that's fine. Do whatever. But if it doesn't...
Arabic cultures
yeah.
from a long time ago. Or at least I believe that is. Once again, take that with a grain of salt, because I am tired and just going off the top of my head. So I could be very wrong. I could be right. So either way,
it goes back a lot. But, like, you can tell we haven't advanced much from it.
In some ways we have advanced. Like, we have things that allow us to fly through the air now, which he seems to be obsessed with.
Yeah. Well, I was just talking about the...
I was talking about technology as a joke. Okay, this dude doesn't know how to BDSM. That's another thing.
Definitely.
We mentioned it before when we were about to touch down on the playroom. A little out of order. His playroom, first off, is a representation of how he's stuck in a mindset of a cruel and manipulative 13 or 15-year-old or whatever who's just playing with these women as if they're toys. But he doesn't know how to BDSM because he's got fucking like 90 toys and he knows how to use 2 of them. And not even well.
Yeah, it's just, I'm not an expert. I did a lot of research because of this movie.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's not...
And I think I'll definitely include some links in the bottom for people to read on their own.
I also have a chart. It's a pretty cool chart.
Oh,
it's BDSM versus abuse.
Send it to me and I'll link it as well.
Yeah.
So here's a really good cliche that was in the movie. The mother interrupting the sex scene. And also the sex scene including the best bush to exist in a long time.
Yeah, we mentioned that.
No, but I wanted to mention it when it was appropriate because we just got to that scene. Because he's talking about the contract and all the sub-dom bullshit, whatever. He shows her the room that she'd be sleeping in because when it comes to like extreme BDSM, isolation is a common practice because it becomes a more of the subs are at that point know what they want, and some of them are very interested in being messed with and stuff.
Mind you, they know.
Yeah, they do know. Yeah, this is a different thing.
They have information.
But there was some really funny, because it was not subtle at all, symbolism in the sub's bedroom. On the wall, there was painted a caged bird, meant to signify the sub themselves. Which, God, this movie is not subtle.
It's terrible. And another thing I'd just like to go back to.
Yeah,
well,
sure.
I mean, I have it here in, like, around the area we are, but it kind of applies to later when they actually get into the more quote-unquote BDSM acts.
Uh-huh.
There's no aftercare, and BDSM aftercare is a big thing, and he kisses her once and leaves.
Do you want to define aftercare first?
Well,
what's normally? Aftercare is normally because BDSM is a fantasy, so it is also, you can think of it as taking place in a fantasy world. Mm-hmm. Aftercare is when you pay close attention to that person and comfort them and help ease them out of the fantasy back into reality. Yeah, that's where I read it from, was the original article that we've both read. Oh no, that's not where I read that from, but that is a really interesting looking chart.
Yeah, it's like, it's cuddling and relaxing and allowing them to, reconnect and replenish and
replenish those electrolytes. Brondo brand energy drink.
Yeah.
That's a movie reference.
Okay.
You should see Idiocracy. That's a great movie. That's a movie we won't talk about because it's amazing.
Speaking of things that are amazing, I'm really thirsty.
Okay. Well, you gotta wait. We'll be done pretty soon, though.
Okay.
We're not too far off. Another good part when they were referring to the contract is when he is quoted as saying, "Try to keep an open mind," but then when she tries to suggest something, he completely shuts her down.
Mm-hmm.
But to be fair, also later he does get the open mind into her suggestions, but this movie, that one little good thing doesn't make it better. Let's see.
Yeah, this movie is all over the place with one little good thing to make up for the bad. It's
The mountain of bad.
Yeah, it's like they have sex like nicely one time, and that was Anna's first time, and it's like, all right, so everything's fine because that one time was consensual and it was good.
Also,
so fine.
You brought up you read that there was apparently a non-consensual sex scene in the book.
Yeah, in the book there's a rape scene. They mysteriously left it out of the movie. It's like they almost knew that what they were doing was bad. Weird how that works out.
Totally.
But in the book, there's a scene, I'm not sure the details because honestly I didn't read the book, this is an excerpt. But, wow, I lost my train of thought.
It was just an excerpt.
But, yeah, it was from the book, but I didn't read the whole book. But
yeah, I understand. It was taken out of context, is what you're saying.
Yeah, she said no, and he was like, if you say no, I'm gonna gag you, blah, blah, blah. Saying no, that's not consent. I don't care if you signed a contract, which...
She never did sign.
She never signed it.
No,
she never signed the contract, so all of you
That's
out
my
there
favorite
who were
one.
like, oh, it's okay because she signed a contract. Nope, she didn't. Shut up.
I think they were just arguing that the fact that there was a contract, which, by the way, that contract would not be legally binding, I guarantee it.
Yeah, and you have to get consent every time, so don't play that with me.
Plus, you have to have witnesses, and you have to get contracts notarized and stuff. With him, you can tell it's very... Because he even mentions it earlier, he expects control in all aspects of his life. That he's a very my way or the highway kind of person, and he wants to get what he wants at all costs. And then we finally come full circle back to, what are butt plugs? This is probably the most clever scene in the movie. I did enjoy this.
Yeah.
When they were doing a serious business negotiation over sex.
It's probably
and
the
sexual
best
acts.
If I can even use the word best with this movie.
Oh, well, this is where you can, because this was a very well done scene. It was done in low lighting. They used some good tight shots, and then a shot where they framed both of them in it with a big old business table. It was a very serious meeting. They wore formal attire, and they were talking about genital clamps and other good stuff. And anal and vaginal fisting.
Yeah, which is always fun. If you're up for it.
Oh,
just
totes.
kidding.
Totes
I
of
have no
goats.
clue anything about that, so don't ask me.
Yeah, then in that same scene, while she's all like, I'm not interested, I'm not going to do this, he's like, really, because your body's saying otherwise, blah, blah, blah. But the problem there is, dude, her body is not what gives consent. It's totally your mouth is what gives consent.
Yes, or you're out of here, okay? I don't care the whole, my mind's telling me no.
That's a good song, though.
My body's telling me yes.
But he's talking from his own perspective in that song as well. Because he's struggling with his feeling. But that was a really good reference.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. I wish I would have. I would have made a great joke out of it. Oh, well. So, we get to her graduation, which I don't know what the fuck her degree's in. Is she also a journalist?
English lit.
Oh. Like everybody.
Maybe.
No, I think you're right, actually.
For some reason, I thought it was English lit.
I think it was too, actually. It doesn't matter. It is clearly not important, because they don't bring it up enough. So, his graduation present to her was selling her car without telling her.
Yeah.
And buying her a new one.
I mean, I always like when people sell my car and not tell me, and just buy a completely new one.
Yeah,
even though I told them that I collected, like, old cars. Like,
oh, was that a thing?
she said she liked old cars, and he brought her, like, she had,
the
like,
brand new Mazda
bug.
Fiat Sunnybird.
Yeah.
Buy it today.
So, what? Like...
Yeah. This brought to you by the Mazda Fiat Sunnybird. Now, you can see or at least it seems, I'll say, I don't want to be too speaking for other people. Clearly a part of the dominant role in a BDSM fantasy is you get off to the control. Mm-hmm. Or at least you enjoy it. It doesn't necessarily have to be everything about it, but in order to be the dominant situation, you have to at least enjoy the control aspects, or else, why would you? You would probably be a sub. But this dude, holy shit, he really enjoys controlling things. Like, in the contract, it even states that she has to go to an OBGYN that he tells her to go to.
And not
that's
only
pretty weird.
But eat all the foods. That's what I'm more concerned about.
I'm more interested, because, okay, let's talk about this. A lady's vagina is pretty personal, right?
Yeah.
So wouldn't she want you to pick a doctor that you're comfortable with to look at your vagina?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but... I mean, I'm not saying that's...
No, okay. I understand.
But, like, I pick what you eat. I pick who you're with. Like, yeah. Alright, chill. That's not needed. That's not needed here. That's not wanted here.
Yes. But I think that there might be some aspects of that are used in BDSM culture. I don't know how far. I'm guessing. This part's guesswork, because I don't want to say that this part specifically is inherently bad, because I might be wrong. Because there are some cases where BDSM is to more of extreme, without abuse, though, abuse. But where it's more extreme, where, like, the person is really living out a slave fantasy and stuff like that. So this leads to one of my last points is, holy shit, E.L. James, somebody didn't love you enough as a child. I don't know if it was your dad, your mom, maybe one of them died, I don't know what. But any psychological model will tell you at this point that something went wrong along the lines to make you write this kind of garbage.
Yeah, it's kind of scary.
And with that, guys, please leave a like and a comment. It helps. We do want to do more of this, right?
Yeah.
And this was Cara's idea to do this movie. Because you already wanted to talk about it anyway, so you're like, well, let's knock it out. 2 birds, 1 stone, right?
Yeah, there you go.
I'm picking next, and it is Killer Mermaids. So stay tuned for that. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.